For business interruption and cyber risks, the indicator is much higher. You can see in my slide the challenges of satisfying BI insurance claims made pursuant to the COVID-19 outbreak in the US. Even in this country with its traditionally large protection capacities, the insurers are unable to cover the losses fully. The research conducted by the Ponemon Institute in 2015 revealed that as measured in local currencies, the most significant increase in total cybercrime costs occurred in Russia and the US, and 29% and 19% respectively, with total volume of cybercrimes losses having an upward trend. Especially now, the situation is aggravated by the COVID-19 outbreak, and the insurance protection gap reaches up to 90%. The growing share of millennials in the workforce contributes to rapid development of digitalization, both in insurance and many other sectors. However, millennials spend a lot of time on digital technologies for themselves and do not necessarily transfer it effectively into an organizational setting. Insurance companies already introduced into their operation blockchain technologies, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, augmented reality, and cloud computing. And the brightest example here is INSURTECH companies providing their services via online channels only. And I guess we can't but agree with Paul Carroll, editor-in-chief at Insurance Thought Leadership, that INSURTECH will lead to more change in the insurance industry in the next 10 to 15 years that it has seen in the centuries since Edward Lloyd set up his coffee shop near the wharves of London and began coordination of writing the policies of marine insurance. Looking at the volume and value of INSURTECH deals, we can notice that 2018 turned out to be a year of rapid growth for INSURTECH, with the number of deals rising by 26% against 2017, and the total value of funding increasing by 87% compared to the previous year. Later on in 2019 and 2020, the upward trend continued. The main players on the INSURTECH market are US, thanks to their traditional hubs in the Silicon Valley and New York, the United Kingdom, Germany, and Canada, with China and India catching up by the rapid leap. In my slide, I outline the leading INSURTECH companies from the UK as their INSURTECH developed very rapidly, and their developers focus on a variety of product lines. The spectrum is really huge. In my next slide, I just outlined a pay-as-you-go model, which has become rather popular recently thanks to the contribution of the UK developers. So in an attempt to satisfy the growing demand for products that can be activated only for the period of employees' working hours, the UK company Vigo, for example, now brokers third-party liability insurance for couriers and other companies. And insurance coverage starts as soon as special application is switched on policyholder phones, which provides for more favorable pricing. The list of most promising INSURTECH companies also includes the London startup Everledger, a global ledger that tracks and protects items of value by using the Bitcoin blockchain as a platform for provenance and combating insurance fraud. This company has established relationships with the major certificate houses in the US, Israel, India, and Antwerp. These houses grade and certify each diamond for the market. Everledger takes this data and creates a digital DNA record comprising the 4 C's: color, card clarity, and carat weight, 14 metadata reference points, and the unique identification code for each stone. With this information, Everledger knows who owns which diamond and where it is. It can even trace the movement of diamonds on platforms such as eBay and Amazon as they are bought and sold. The company works with insurance companies when diamonds are reported stolen, and alongside Interpol and Europol, where diamonds are crossing borders and entering black markets. The incentive for insurance companies to get involved is to reduce claims fraud and recoup costs associated with paying out claims. So the company started with diamonds, and now they're expanding into other luxury goods, high-value items whose provenance relies on paper certificates and receipts that can easily be lost or tampered with. The analysis of INSURTECH geography over time shows that the world center of INSURTECH gravity is gradually moving east. I would like to say a few words about its progress in China now. China is gaining steam and has gone through two stages of INSURTECH sector development. The first stage started in 2001, when national insurers started to offer their traditional products through online platforms and mobile channels. The trend strengthened in 2011, when the China Insurance Regulatory Commission issued some regulations concerning the insurance operations of online intermediaries. And in 2015, the Commission approved licenses for online-only insurance operators and simplified the procedure of document submission for registering a new product. The first online insurance company, Zhong'Ang, held its IPO in 2017, which helped it to raise $1.5 billion and made it the world's largest INSURTECH. By the way, already 4 companies have made a public listing in China: Pinkan, healthcare and technology company, Zhong'Ang, Pintech, and Fanhua. And these companies are certainly expected to contribute to China's INSURTECH market development, and they are considered to be the major drivers of the growth. No doubt, Chinese insurance turned out to be rather innovative in their product development policies, and I will just show a few examples. First of all, during the World Cup in 2014, Zhong'Ang introduced an appealing policy for Chinese football fans called "Watching Football, Drinking Too Much." It was a unique offer, as medical insurance is usually invalid if the insurer is drunk, but not in this case. At the price of less than $1, the insured was able to get coverage of up to $300 for hospital fees. And trying to expand, Zhong'Ang plans to use blockchain technology to make it possible to track the life cycle of chickens. Thanks to special devices tracking bracelets, the chickens are always under control. And activating a special application on their smartphones, customers will be able to see whether the chickens they are buying have been grown on organic food and kept in proper conditions. So the project was launched in 2018, and at present, the step-by-step chicken Taobao flagship store has been on sale. What's going on in my native country, in Russia? The analysis of the Russian insurance market shows that pursuant to 2017, insurance premiums collected through online channels increased by almost 500% against 2016, which is the highest indicator for the covered period, thanks to legislative solutions allowing selling motor compulsory third-party liability insurance through the internet. And nowadays, more and more products are offered online, and certainly the COVID-19 pandemic greatly contributes to the online distribution channels development. Moreover, In Russia, we have a fintech lab, which is the first Russian hub for fintech startups. And within this lab, a few insurance accelerators have been launched. The first one was launched in 2017. It's a 12-week project where players have a chance to go through the training and meet the most experienced experts and mentors of the sector, while get necessary connections and meet some prominent investors for future cooperations and partnerships. In this very slide, you see a list of projects under the INSURTECH Lab implemented in 2017. The third project was launched in 2019, in December 2019. Well, amid digital disruption, most countries face a wide range of challenges, and I would like to focus on them briefly. Robotization leads to decrease in the number of human workers. Artificial intelligence programs know all our habits, what we eat, whether we do sport and drive carefully, which may lead to increased tariffs on insurance services and so-called discrimination. The issue of liability hasn't been solved yet. It's still not clear who is to blame in case of a driverless car accident, a driver or a manufacturer. Next, data stored at insurance companies may be hacked. We all remember attack at Marriott International, which cost the company more than $500 million US. Some work is done in this respect, and the EU, for example, adopted the General Data Protection Regulation, but there are still many legislation gaps to be filled. What can we say about the US, the company that is traditionally on the forefront of InsurTech development? Well, they continuously work on providing favorable conditions for InsurTech, and for example, the National Association of Insurance Commissioners has set up a special task force for studying and investigating the regulation of InsurTech, cyber risks, cybersecurity issues. But the main problem here in the US is that by federal statute, insurance regulation is the purview of the state, while new technologies are aimed at expansion of people involved, which may make it more difficult to manage the regulation on the state level. And perhaps in the long run, it will become necessary to strengthen federal control. Well, the Dodd-Frank Act adopted in 2010 implied increasing involvement of the federal government in insurance regulation. However, the policy of Congress and the ex-president Donald Trump eliminated certain non-insurance portions of Dodd-Frank. Moreover, during the presidency of Trump, state ahead initiative was introduced, and the chances of adoption of any act that may impinge on traditional powers of the states are really vague now. So we have to see what a new president, Joe Biden, will introduce. So it remains to be seen. As far as the UK is concerned, for example, the development of fintech was boosted thanks to the former Chancellor of the Exchequer, George Osborne, who announced the government's ambition to make the UK the global capital of fintech, and later on contributed on softening some regulation demands. For example, in 2015, the UK Financial Conduct Authority announced the creation of launching so-called regulatory sandbox, which are now created worldwide. And moreover, agreements on cooperation with supervision authorities of Australia, Singapore, and South Korea to promote the UK as a fintech hub were signed. Certainly, the UK historic vote to leave the European Union has created a level of uncertainty. For example, it was not clear whether the US and UK finally agreed on the covered agreement, according to which reinsurers are exempt from local presence or collateral requirements, such as maintaining minimal capital and solvency standards. Fortunately, the agreement was finally agreed on and took into force last year on the 31st of December 2020. So the US had to agree on a separate agreement with the UK apart from the agreement they signed with the European Union. Certainly, Brexit possesses certain risks for INSURTECH, as more than 50% of the entrepreneurs doing their business in the country are not British residents. They can easily leave the country once they're offered prospective projects. And one more challenge is Solvency II regime. Given Solvency II requirements, insurance companies have to have additional capital on top of the insurance reserve, which means a lot of expenditures. And without strategic investors, the best solution for INSURTECH companies may be to become managing general agents, for which capital requirements are lower. In China, the main problem is a lack of coordinated policy, because new products can be much easier and quicker launched than mature products, because they are subject to regulation both on the level of provinces and state. Health insurance stands here apart, because under the government regulatory agenda to increase penetration, the National Insurance Commission provides such insurance with tax rebates and encourages insurance products linked to wearable devices. In Russia, we still have problems with the level of insurance culture, legislation gaps, and certainly we lack single standards for increasing efficiency of online distribution channels like in many other countries. But still, a lot of activity has been on recently. For example, the state program Digital Economy was approved 4 years ago. Then the projects on enhancing the workforce potential were launched on the basis of the most prestigious universities. Later on in 2014, following the suit of foreign partners, the Central Bank of Russia announced the launch of the regulatory sandbox. And actually, a lot of projects have already been participating in this initiative. Moreover, this year, the law on experimental legal regimes in the field of digital innovation came into force. And within the framework of legal sandboxes, the government will allow a limited number of companies in a certain territory and for a certain period of time to comply with the current legislation with a number of features. We already have sandboxes in medicine, transport, but mostly in financial activities, certainly, and in insurance too. Well, what I would like I stress here is that the current economic development of low interest rates leads to decrease in life insurance premiums and savings products. Customers are becoming more and more picky and demanding and search for customized, personalized services and a simplified claims process. In addition, the consumer habits have been subject to the impact of the COVID-19 outbreak, when people started working remotely and having limited opportunities to communicate with others offline. As a result, insurance companies face the challenge of transforming their business models to survive under the burden of strengthening competition. It is logical to suggest that in this respect, INSURTECH can be considered as an invaluable catalyst for innovation. So that almost concludes my presentation, and I would like to finish it with the words of Alexander Graham Bell. We just need to be careful to notice the door which is open, and challenges may keep a lot of opportunities, both for market players and consumers. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. You can ask me right now or contact me at the email stated in the slide. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lena. Maybe one brief question. You mentioned that INSURTECH will be or has the potential to be the catalyst for innovation. Do you think digitalization will allow slower economies to catch up with the leading ones, or the gap will be widened in the future?
Well, I don't think that INSURTECH may somehow contribute to narrowing the gap quite a lot. It may, to some extent, but slower economies may certainly get a chance to be incorporated in the global system of digitalization. In what way? For example, those countries who lag behind, for example, now have more opportunities to distribute their insurance through online channels to such groups of population that are not able to afford traditional general insurance. For example, pay-as-you-go model is popular now in many Latin American countries and some countries of Africa, because people can now afford health insurance on a pay-as-you-go system. So, for example, while working, while driving, they can switch on the application system and just pay a few dollars a day or just $1 a day. And certainly it will contribute to the development of their mental attitude towards insurance as a protection instrument. And in the long term, I believe such transformation may contribute to their financial literacy improvement and development. And in this respect, again, in the long term, we can expect the narrowing of the gap between those who now lag behind and more advanced economies. We see how China, for example, and India are filling the gap. So they introduced a lot of applications and instruments to catch up with those who are more advanced. I believe there are a lot of opportunities, but not so quickly in the long term.
Thank you for the examples as well. I believe our next speaker is Dejan Radev. So,
may I ask a question? May I ask?
Oh yes.
I was curious. I guess you chose all those examples for regulation because they are relevant in a way to Russia. You chose the US, the UK, EU regulation, Chinese. How similar is the situation with Russian regulation, because it's a federal state? Is it similar to the US that the republics have some autonomy? Is it delegated to the republics, or is it centralized?
No, it's on the federal. It's on the federal level.
So at least that one you don't have.
Similar to the US, yeah.
Okay.
We are more similar now to single countries such as the UK, for example, after Brexit, yeah, and China. But certainly in China, the national supervision control is much stricter than in our country. So we're somewhere in between.
Okay, and to the products, you mentioned this car tracking or car, yeah, was it a car tracking device or car monitoring to monitor your driving? How deep is the integration of the technologies in Russia? I guess you know you are also involved with the private
You mean car tracking devices which help us?
Yes, to
Not
evaluate the
us, but I
risks when
mean
you
the
drive.
regulator, for example, or the insurance company, to work out a proper tariff, a proper rate.
Exactly. Yeah. Is it introduced in
Well,
Russia already, or?
yeah,
Okay.
it's introduced not by everyone, but more and more companies are making
Okay.
use of these devices, and especially those companies which were launched thanks to the development of this InsurTech accelerator.
Okay.
They certainly took advantage of studying driving habits of their future policyholders, and it influenced their pricing policy. And I believe that in the near future, more and more offers connected with such tracking studies will just increase.
And do you think there is already an impact on driving? Because I've seen a lot of YouTube clips in Russia when everyone has a camera.
You know, those people, I believe that those people who have always been careful driving, they will continue doing that, and implementation of tracking systems may greatly impact their driving habits. So they will now stick more to rules.
Okay.
And those people who have been crazy, according to a study conducted by our special, I don't remember the institute, unfortunately, but we have a special institute of studying consumer behavior. And they believe that those crazy people, they will always exist, and only high penalties may somehow prevent them, from breaking the rules. But, you know, these drivers may completely avoid these tracking devices, and they will just prefer to pay a standard tariff, prefer standard rate.
But that is a nice way to discriminate between types, who is a risky and less risky type. I think insurance, especially with that new technology, can facilitate sorting out the good types and bad types. The good types will go to the InsurTech companies. I think that because they would like to offer lower margins, lower fees, and it's good if they can also attract the better, the more careful types.
Certainly. I believe it will be a great distinguishing factor. On the one hand, as I have already mentioned, the people may say, okay, guys, you are discriminating us, it's not fair, and something like that. But anyway, I believe that it's more beneficial for final end users, for end consumers, because they will see the result of their proper behavior. Exactly. So the increased rates, okay, you have behaved properly, guy. You have been driving carefully. Why not give you a discount? Yes. So in the future, I think, and especially for millennials, for those people, who were born with iPhones in their hands, it will be much more understandable than for adults. I mean, those in their 60s, 70s. And I think that the future of insurance and financial protection, as well as financial literacy, will also depend on the development of InsurTech and digitalization of insurance channels.
Okay, and that's a nice segue to my presentation. That's about fintech education, I guess. So
okay,
exactly.
I have started the program, so
nice.
I'm all ears.
Okay, perfect.
Learn more.
I hope there'll be. It's in a Balkan setting for my impressions when I returned to Bulgaria, but let me just share it. See, yes, but I think it also should apply to Russia too. Okay, so that is my so first my name is Dejan Radev. I'll say a few words in a couple of slides about my background, but I'm an assistant professor for now. An assistant professor. I hope I'll stay at Sofia University for a lot of time. That is a bit of a report or a summary of my experience in the first year of returning to Bulgaria and teaching. This particular course is FinTech. I've taught several other courses. That one was the most exciting. So I'm very happy that I can that I can report on it. And I hope there'll be lessons for everyone as well. So the FinTech course is part of a master's program in finance and investments, who is supported by the Bulgarian FinTech Association. That's why I'm using their logo here. And you see what type of support. That what I'm listing here will be only part of the support that they are providing. But let's first tell you a bit of who I am and why I will say some of the things that I'll say in a bit. So I graduated the Faculty of Economics and Business Administration, where I'm currently working. But then I went to Germany for my master's and PhD, then remained there for quite some time. In addition, so I have more or less 17 years of experience in teaching in empirical banking, corporate finance, principles of banking, econometrics, mostly in Germany. So the universities that I have taught in were Goethe University Frankfurt, Bonn University, University of Mainz, and now Sofia University. Let me hide this. I don't know whether you see it, but my focus so far in my research career and teaching career has been on banking regulation, contagion between banking systems and financial markets, and systemic risks. And the European Central Bank uses some of my indicators for sovereign and bank risk in their regular reporting. So why am I presenting this? First, I consider myself a Bulgarian economist who has some extensive experience from studying and teaching abroad. And I decided to come back and share my experience. And also I was gradually switching to FinTech because it's not only an exciting new field in finance, but it also has very strong implications for my original field of research, for financial stability, for the stability of the financial system. That's why in the European Commission, the FinTech sector is not that much regulated, but monitored or supported by the Directorate General in Financial Stability. So, and I was very excited that I was offered to teach this course in FinTech and banking. As I said, it's a new course in a new it is in a new master's program. It just started last autumn. I decided to teach the course in English. We'll talk a bit how that went. We received amazing support from the Bulgarian FinTech Association. Several companies offered tuition fee scholarships on competitive basis. So there were a couple of them were for essays. 6 of them were for academic achievements. So the best students, the best 6 students will receive 1 semester free. It's a 1-year program, so they will receive half of their tuition fee back. And part of the course was were guest lecturers that were provided. So they were well, provided is a bit of industrial term, but the Bulgarian FinTech Association got me in contact with those companies. More than 15 FinTech companies. Also, the Bulgarian National Bank decided to provide a lecture on monitoring and regulating FinTechs. And also what I found really nice was that the biggest bank currently in Bulgaria decided to join and to introduce their dabbling or their implementation of new financial technology. We had an intensive promotion in the media. We had interviews with Bloomberg, some popular fintech bloggers in Bulgaria. Also, we had several introductory meetings for prospective students. And eventually, although that was a completely new program, we turned out to be the biggest master's program at the faculty. And we have a very similar program, master's program. The only difference is this fintech course. And they had 12 students. It's fintech. It's called finance and banking. And the only difference is this fintech course in that program. And we had 45. So I believe, and that's what students told me recently, that they chose this program because of that course. The students were of heterogeneous background, law, economics, finance. We had even linguists. So that, I think, in general, should produce a very nice core of what a fintech company should incorporate as stuff. So you have to look at regulation, you have to have a marketing specialist, finance specialist. Linguistics is very interesting, and of course, entering in a big way finance through machine learning. So that was a very interesting group of students. At the end, so that was very recent, but it was supposed to be part of the course. So that concluded this year of FinTech education at the faculty. We organized a hackathon from zero to FinTech. It was a 9-day hackathon supported by very prominent organizations, the European Commission, the Ministry of Finance, PaySafe, Visa, MasterCard, IBM, and some Bulgarian FinTech companies. We had 78 participants. And the most valuable thing was a full-day workshop that was provided by venture capital investors that operate on the Bulgarian market, also by marketing specialists, by presentation specialists. So that was really a crash course on how to prepare your startup idea and to prepare your pitch for funding. We also had mentors and jury from the Silicon Valley. They were mostly Bulgarian. I think all of them were Bulgarian. Let me see, I'm moving a bit. At the end, 6 teams, on average, there were 4 people. So 1/3 of the participants remained. But to me, the most valuable thing was the participation first, and then this workshop. And 6 teams submitted pitch decks. We had 2 winners that received very expensive awards from the IBM. Also Iris Solutions, which is a new company that offers open banking services in Bulgaria. And there were also prizes for legal and some cybersecurity services. And here I've put a link for you to have a look how this looks like. And we are very proud of this thing because we started from scratch. So in mid-December, we started with half a page of a Word document. And now I think we have a very nice web page, and we are planning to make this an annual event. We are very, very happy with how it turned out. So let me move on, because I guess we're getting ahead with time. So I was planning to, I had to tone down my presentation because as a German professor, or former German professor, I've seen a lot of things that work well in Germany that here they really surprised me. Not only in terms of administration, but how the whole education system is organized and how students approach studying. And you'll see what I mean in half a minute. So initially I was a bit too negative here. I was going to order the slides, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So 3 slides. And then I decided to be more realistic and optimistic, because that was a pilot program, and we have ideas how to improve everything on this list. So the first thing was, so I decided to offer this course in English, and even before I came to Bulgaria, I knew that I'm coming. I had the position secured. I decided that I will teach only in foreign languages, so English or German. We have German programs as well. And that turned out to be an issue, not much so for students that graduate from our faculty, but to students that come, that have studied, have had their bachelor's at other faculties, because our faculty has an entrance exam in English. So there shouldn't be at all, it wasn't an issue. So I've noticed where I received the emails from. There were several complaints that a Bulgarian is teaching in English to Bulgarians and things like that. Also, at the end, we did a survey. It seemed that some students said that it stopped them from participating more and asking questions. But we decided to stick to it. The Bulgarian FinTech Association fully supported that decision. And in the FinTech world, the working language is English. So that wasn't even a question. And for the next year, we explicitly state that the course will be in English. So people that are not confident might choose another master's program if they're afraid of that course. So those first three points are very interrelated. So the course was in English in a Slavic-speaking country or non-native English-speaking country. We had an online environment that, well, students tend to disappear a bit when they're online. Even when they're there, they're just watch. They're not that active. They're at home, they might be having a dinner while they're listening to the lecture. So the participation was not that great. There weren't many discussions. What helped was those guest lectures. So then the discussions kicked in. Not in the first part that I was introducing the more theoretical part of the material. Also, the demographic crisis in our region kind of reduced the it totally reduced the entrance requirements for students. So that also has a huge impact, but that is general for all universities. The issue here is not that much that we are forced to reduce our standards in terms of teaching, but we should accept that we are fighting with other universities that offer easier curriculum. and for the same amount, for the same students, for a decreasing amount of students. So we cannot put a requirement that you should have perfect English and things like that, that you should have had economics background and so forth. What surprised me as a German, as coming from a German university, was that there are no full-time students. And that also is related to the demographic crisis, the economic situation in our countries. At the master's level, there are no full-time students, there are very few. And that means that it's difficult to push those people to focus on education and getting high grades if education is not their priority. If it gets too hard, some of them dropped out, although I don't think that the English was that difficult. But we offered them a lot of courses on artificial intelligence and machine learning, and they just went there and decided to opt out. They were elective. So if it gets too hard or too time consuming, unfortunately, because they're working full time at other places, they cannot devote much time on studying, and they're very pragmatic in that way. Also, well, what a bit concerns me in looking for prospective PhD students for myself, for my research, is that if they don't commit to education at the master's level is a gateway to a research career. And I didn't see it in that cohort, but next year I think that will improve. How we are planning to address this. So we are making the course open to participants from other master's program, English master's, other master's program in English, and also we have master's program in data science. So that is one way how one would improve the quality of the group that watches a course, just making it open to wider variety of technical skills, people with technical skills. The other way that I came up with is to put more technically oriented people at the gateway, because our faculty is in no position to send away people that are ready to pay the tuition fee. We will just my idea, I don't know whether we'll implement it, but my idea is to promote the course and the program in technical universities, which we didn't do because, yeah. So that is a lesson that we learned. The positive things, we had a very enthusiastic support from the FinTech Association and the faculty. Everyone is very happy with how this turned out, the master's program and the course itself. We have a lot of additional events. We take part in new regulation groups together with the different ministries, with the European Commission, and that's all because we got in touch, or the FinTech Association got in touch with us. They also, of course, support through scholarships, also with renovating the faculty building. So it was a very intensive support. All guest lecturers and members of the workshop, the members of the jury, the lecturers in the workshop, the members of the jury had international experience or were foreigners. So that's also what English helped with. So we could invite, we had the director of UniCredit Bulgaria for consumer lending, who was Italian. So he wouldn't have participated if the lecture was in Bulgarian. We also had some other foreigners that are CEOs in fintech companies. So that was a thing that the Bulgarian Fintech Association was very happy with, that the course is in English. And it's very important as a lesson to attract our diasporas from abroad to share their experience. And also I was very happy that companies are willing to get involved and contribute to education and educating their prospective staff. And also what interests me, of course, is that they are willing to provide data and support research. So the summary is that the first year was a resounding success to us. We had lessons that we had to learn and will improve next year. The next year we'll be adding a course in blockchain and cryptocurrencies. The program will be renamed, so FinTech, Finance, Investment, and FinTech. As I said, the teaching in English was highly appreciated, so that stays for sure. And the promotion of the course before the semester, before the academic year, and the scholarships increased the attractiveness of the program and also the competitiveness. And also I was very happy with the participation of UniCredit. They also had another session when they presented how they use artificial intelligence in their risk management. Regulators, we had the Bulgarian National Bank, but I would have liked to have more more of the regulators responsible for the fintech, the financial sector. There are several in Bulgaria. So that's something to work on, the connection with them. So the lessons and advice. So we have to be up to date. So if I could, I would switch all programs at the faculty to English. Of course, unfortunately, our environment does not allow it. Also, one should update the material constantly. In the beginning of the course, so beginning of October, China, we saw it from Elena's presentation, was an example for how supportive regulation should be organized, how to support the fintech regulation. And by the end of the course, they had already blocked the biggest IPO in history and had started to harass Alibaba and other big techs. So it is so dynamic, this field. I'm sure that I'll have to change maybe 20% of my course every year. So we have to update our courses constantly. That's the future, I think, if we want to keep up with fintech, insurtech. And also one should involve the local startup associations. I don't know whether, I hope that it's already being done in other countries in the region and also in Eastern Europe. But that was a very big push for the success of our program. Attract the diaspora, as I said, and gamification and looking for funding is very important. So looking for funding in order to allow students not to worry that they won't make their ends meet if they devote more time to studying, because we had other amazing courses in the program, and it's a bit sad that students cannot participate fully. Gamification was very important. We had hackathons, essays, lectures, and they were all involved. They were all connected to monetary, to tuition fees, waivers, and so on. And also, I asked every guest lecturer, so throughout the lectures, I asked them to say what is the future of the workforce, so the future of finance and the future of the financial profession. And everyone said one thing: you don't need to be a programmer, but in order to succeed in this financial revolution, you should be able at least to read code, to understand what the programmers are doing and what they are telling you. So that is my, I think I was over time a bit, but are there any questions.
Okay, I see that Malini is here with us, so she's ready for the next presentation. Maybe just one quick question.
Yes.
Have you seen, because you spoke extensively about language as a must, as a barrier, and as an opportunity, have you seen a transformation in culture, if you will, with the uh, extensive use or adoption of English language in your course?
In what
I'm
sense,
speaking about
culture?
your students, because you may be teaching a course in English,
Yeah.
and you are a non-native speaker, whereas if students are not very literate, or if they don't have this mentality, you will have other issues different from what you originally intended to tackle.
So my intention with teaching English was exactly that, to put, we have to challenge ourselves. And I had it when I moved abroad. I also studied only in English. And here people tend to get complacent, and that reduces their opportunities. All those fintech companies are looking for people with English language. That, well, if you don't, the interviews will be in English. If you don't have, if you are not aware of that while studying that program, well, that will, I mean, that you'll be out of the workforce at least, well, in 5 to 10 years. You'll have to live with lower skilled, lower positions at companies. So I was I kind of didn't care what students want, because I knew what they need, and they will. I don't know whether they will appreciate this, what I did to them, to some of them, but at least they saw what a competitive environment looks like. And that is the basic requirement. That coding is on top of English, so that nobody asks you whether you know English when you apply to those companies. So it was like in Soviet times, it's very popular in even in Western economics. You have a social planner and the market outcome. So I acted a bit as a social planner at the moment. I hope that I'm sure that it was beneficial to the students, even if they don't realize it at the moment, and that will continue. And that's also the role of the state. We cannot just, right now we're in such a situation, we can pandemic situation. You cannot just allow a free will, everyone to do whatever they want. You have to look for the social good, and sometimes people don't know what's best for them in the beginning. So whether the culture changes, the culture is very persistent. So it's difficult to say whether culture changed, but at least they saw what the environment is like. Also, that workshop,
attitude, maybe not culture, attitude.
Yes, I think also that workshop, only 6 teams submitted because they saw during that workshop what it takes to have a fintech company, how many rounds of funding, that you have to be perfect from the start, and you have to constantly improve, because even you think you're perfect, it's not the case. Maybe the market, you didn't evaluate it correctly. So only the best projects remained and the most brave. So that's what we want. at the end.
Do you think it will be possible to attract more students from abroad? For example, nowadays we all have experience teaching online, yeah, arranging breakout rooms and so on. And do you believe that there are prospects of just involving more and more students to your course from other programs, PhD or master programs, living in foreign countries?
So we are already
To share their experience also.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good question. We have an idea in the midterm. I didn't include it in the presentation because we don't know how it will work. We have an idea for a fully English program in mostly based on fintech. But then the issue is what's the staff situation? How many people could teach in English on a high level and really modern courses? And also that might reduce the intake. But of course, and at the end, it's on our books, this course, and the other English language programs at the faculty, they have international students, mainly at the moment from diplomatic missions at the embassies, but also from China, from the Russian republics, from the former Soviet republics, we have quite a few. So I think that's the way to go. That's what Germany is doing. So most of the master's programs are in English. That's why I never taught in German for 14 years. So that's the way to go. That's my only hope, because our countries well, we have to reverse the brain drain. That's one of my goals. The second goal is we have to copy Germany in attracting highly skilled student employees and students that should remain in our countries. And an English-speaking programs.
You're on the right track.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Malini, are you with us?
I am. Hello. Let me just put my video on. Hello.
Yes, thank you. So you're now welcome to do your presentation. Just a few words about yourself first, and then what you will be talking about.
Yeah, so do you want me to bring up my slides, or shall I?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So let me just bring that up. Right, I'll put those into full screen. Can you see those okay?
Yes, yes.
Yep.
Full screen now.
Okay, good. Right. Well, I was going to kick off with an intro actually, so maybe I can just sort of go straight into it if that's okay. So I've got about 20 minutes, is that right?
Yes. Is it enough?
Yes, I think so. So I'll just start actually, and I'll do an intro and then sort of go into the detail as well. So hi, so everyone, I'm Malini Nagaria. I'm from the Digital Insurer, and I'm the head of TDI Academy, which is TDI's learning and development platform in digital insurance. And if you don't know the Digital Insurer, or TDI for short, we are the world's leading insurance platform focusing on knowledge and content on the subject of digital insurance. So we have around 50,000 members from around the world who sign up and get access to our content and services on digital insurance. And TDI Academy, which is the area that I look after, is a core part of TDI's knowledge and content platform. And as far as we know, we're one of the only providers who offer L&D programs specifically in digital insurance. So that's what I'm going to be speaking about today. So the subject of L&D in a digital age. And I just thought it'd be good to share some of our perspectives and experiences from setting up TDI Academy, which we launched about 18 months ago now. And I'm going to sort of spend maybe the first part of the presentation, I guess, looking at some of the trends, broader trends that we've seen in insurance, and then what that means specifically for L&D and for L&D in insurance. And then I'll share perhaps a little bit of information and on how that's translated into the L&D offerings that we currently offer in the academy. All right, so thought I'd start maybe with a bit of a provocative, a bit of context really, and a bit of a provocative statement here. So, right, so has everything in insurance changed? And I think most people probably would have said, you know, in the last sort of 12 to 18 months, yes, everything has changed because of COVID. But actually, I would say that yes, it has changed, but everything's actually just going a lot faster, right? And the reason behind that is some of these 5 trends that you see in front of you here. So these 5 long-term trends have had a bit of a kicker, I guess, from COVID, and actually they've been around for a long time. And these are the things that we're seeing that are sort of fundamentally altering the insurance space, right? So whether it's looking at the customer adoption of technology and customers' rising expectations, new insurance business models, you know, we can't sort of stay as we are. Business as usual is a very risky option, and or the, you know, whether it's the realization that we need to adapt to these trends. And that really sort of forms the backdrop of what I'm going to be speaking about, because what we're seeing is that insurers need to adapt to all of these changes, right? And actually it's becoming sort of the #1 priority for many insurers. So I think that sort of leads on to the question, well, what does that mean from a learning and development perspective, right? And there's 2 sort of meta themes that are relevant here, which I'll sort of keep coming back to throughout this presentation, right? It really forms, I think, the bedrock of what we're going to be talking about. And the first theme is the need to upskill, and the second is the sort of the additional hidden value that learning and development can deliver, right, in terms of starting to deliver a digital culture within insurance organizations, right? So those 2 things, upskilling and digital culture, I think are the result, therefore, of what you know, these trends, these broader macro trends that we're seeing. And I'm just going to share some data first, right, that reinforces some of these points. And I noticed that you were sort of talking about culture before I came on as well, so hopefully that sort of aligns nicely to what you've been speaking about as well. So the first data slide I'm going to show is from a PwC report, right, which says that actually 75% of digital transformations fail to achieve ROI, right? So quite a stark data point. So if most insurers are actually, you know, have digital transformation as a key top priority, yet most of them actually fail to achieve ROI, then, you know, therein sort of lies a problem, right? So the question becomes why is that? And the quote there, I think, sort of sums it up nicely, right? So when digital transformation fails, technology is usually not the problem, and it's the winners master how to digitally enable their people. And I think that's pretty poignant, right? Because tech is not actually often the problem. It's more to do with people and being able to empower people, right, with the right skills and the right mindset to facilitate that digital transformation. And unfortunately, what we've seen, I think, in the past with a lot of organisations, not just insurance, is that there is a recognition, right, that there is a skills gap, particularly in the digital space. But this sort of data shows that typically that's an area that has been underinvested in. So there is a need for upskilling, but a lot of companies still don't put the investment into that area, which is a challenge, right? And I think, I mean, this data is a little bit old and we are seeing some change in that, but still think that that's an area that definitely needs to improve. And you know, I think why is that? Why are people not investing in digital? And I think you know, what does that mean? I think part of the answer lies in the fact that what we've seen is that digital skills are currently still confined to specialist teams. So what we've seen is that investment tends to go in these specialist areas, or digital sits within these specialist teams. And that in itself creates an issue as well, because it means that employees sort of, you know, lack that awareness and understanding of the broader trends that are going on around them. It leads to sort of change resistant mindsets, and it really sort of reinforces that silo culture if you sort of tend to stick to that sort of specialist team model. And then this slide sort of really reinforces the point about culture. So again, sort of another sort of data point, but you know, there's this a study by BCG showed that culture is really sort of key to success for digital transformation, right? So we talked about upskilling, and then the other side of that is culture, right? So in this data slide, you can see here that companies that neglected any cultural change, right, had sort of zero success, and those that focused on culture had a much stronger chance of succeeding in their cultural, in their digital transformation. So again, just reinforcing that point about culture. So I think the conclusion really here, as I said, is that it's both, right, culture and upskilling that are really critical to digital success, not just one, not just the other, and certainly neither of them. And those are the two areas in L&D, I think, that in this digital age, all companies and insurers in particular need to focus on. And if they do that, what that will really facilitate is that shift from the few to the many. And apologies, this is a bit of a busy slide, but what at the heart of what we do at TDI and our ethos or our belief is really, this is what we want to try and achieve, right? So insurance leadership teams need to broaden and accelerate their digital transformation efforts by moving digital from the few to the many. So that slide we saw earlier, which was just what we see is happening quite a lot at the moment, where it sits within the few. What we want to try and do is to move that to the many, so that as many people as possible are engaged in digital learning, right? And you can see there some of the knock-on implications that then has. So, you know, helps to really embed awareness and understanding of some of the changes that are happening deep within the organisation. That's where the cultural component comes in, and then you know, a couple of byproducts around that in terms of being able to enhance innovation across functions and teams. And when we set up TDI Academy, these are the things that we really wanted to make sure that we try and address, right? This is the backdrop to us even setting up TDI Academy. When we did, we were aware when we were speaking to insurers in the past, you know, we've had relationships with insurers for a long time, that there really was this need for not only upskilling people, but trying to move it from the few to the many. And you know, it's not an easy thing to do, but that really meant that for us, there's an opportunity to shift the L&D, current sort of L&D paradigm, right? And we found that there was a bit of a broad canvas that we could really go by when we were setting up TDI Academy. There's certain sort of design principles that we really wanted to make sure that we brought in when we set up TDI Academy that helped address that upskilling and that cultural component as well. So some of the design principles that we really sort of honed in on when we were creating our programs, as you know, you can see here, obviously wanted to make sure that things were online and accessible for any time, anywhere. They were, our content was easy to access. We wanted to make sure that we had a broad curriculum from a number of diverse industry experts, making sure that our content was easy to consume, right? That it was micro-chunked, broken down into chunks so that people can fit it into their busy lives. And then this point around sort of integrated and like creating a platform for lifelong learning, because that for us is really key around the culture, right? So making sure that knowledge is something that is not just once and done, right? I think that model again has changed from what we've seen in the past, where, you know, you sort of got your degree and then got a job and then didn't really do anything else. What we feel is very much the new paradigm is trying to create something that is lifelong, right? That you're learning all the time, and again combines both of those points around making sure that you are continuously being upskilled, and that you are then also changing your mindset, right, around change and what's going on in the world. I think the other point as well is making sure that you create the right experience. So the shift that we've seen, obviously, in the last, particularly in the last 12 to 18 months, has been a shift from face-to-face learning, right, to online learning, and that can be difficult. Now at TDI, we've always been, and we've had sort of online at the heart of what we do right from when we started off the digital insurer. And so when we were developing our TDI Academy programs, you know, there was no question about whether we were going to do any face-to-face or not. It was always going to be no. Our programs, we wanted them to be always 100% online, but getting that experience right is quite a challenge, right? Making sure that as a student or as a participant, as a user, when you're going through those programs, that the experience that you get from doing online is this, you know, is the same as or better than doing it face to face. And I think that can be quite a challenge sometimes when you're designing online programs. So one of our programs, which I'll come on to explain in a minute in particular, has a blended component to it where we it's still all online, but it's a mix of, you know, sort of pre-recorded, easily accessible content, but we do come together as well and make sure that people can interact and participate when they're going through the program as well. So I just thought I'd share a little bit about the programs that we offer, right? Because it sort of helps inform some of the previous slides that I've spoken about. So at TDI Academy, as I mentioned, which is, you know, our sort of L&D platform, we've got 3 core programs, one called TDI Prime, one called CDI, and one called ADI. And we like our acronyms at the Digital Insurer. And what we wanted to do was to design a core curriculum that sort of underpins all of these programs. So we have, I'll show you that in a minute, we have a core curriculum that consists of 56 hours of online content, and in various guises that's available across these 3 offerings that you see here, and very much underpins everything that we do. And these 3 offerings that we have are just sort of slightly different formats of programs that we offer, and again, you know, bring together those components of what I've been mentioning throughout, right? The upskilling and the cultural component. So Prime, for example, is our sort of corporate member platform. And again, our goal with TDI Prime is to try and get digital insurance learning to as many people as possible. So with TDI Prime, it's a corporate member offering, which means that insurers, organisations can offer L&D services to all their staff, or as many staff as they want, right? And have that continual access to learning and development in digital insurance. And Prime really allows you to do that. And then we have focus programs on digital insurance and sort of professional qualifications, if you like, and that's what CDI and ADI do. So CDI is our sort of 100% on-demand certificate, and ADI is our what we call our virtual mini MBA, and that's our sort of blended program that I mentioned earlier, where you've got the pre-recorded content but some live interaction as well with participants and our industry experts. So I mentioned our core curriculum that underpins everything that we do, and this is it really here. So there's a lot of content that we cover in digital insurance, and again, one of our design principles around this was that we wanted to make sure that a few things really. That it was broad. The topic of digital insurance is broad, right? So it is designed to cover breadth as opposed to depth and going niche into specific areas. And again, that really helps with that shift from moving people from the few to the many, because the whole point about technology impacting insurance is that it cuts across the whole insurance organization. And what we really want to do is make sure that whether you sit in marketing or whether you sit in technology, there's something for everybody in this curriculum, right? If you sit in tech, you might find some of the courses easier to understand, but you might not have an awareness of, for example, what's happening in marketing. And some of the feedback that we've had from our participants is that actually it's really, by going through our curriculum, it's really enabled me to better understand what's going on in other departments, which maybe I wouldn't have realised beforehand. And if you go back to that slide that I showed earlier about helping to break down silos, I think, again, this really helps enable that because of its breadth. The other thing we wanted to do with the curriculum is to make sure that it's global in nature and that it's very vocational, if you like, rather than being too theoretical. So we do cover in the lessons a bit of theory, but actually the emphasis is on bringing the content to life. So we have a lot of global case studies in what we cover, because we wanted it to be a global curriculum, and we want people to be able to easily take away the learning and apply it. So again, that applicability was key for us, being able to make sure that when you go through the lessons and the content, that you can immediately kind of take something away from it and implement it in the workplace. Because it's all very well and good sort of learning and consuming knowledge, but if you then can't do anything with it, then that's really a wasted opportunity. So the way that we've structured our lessons helps facilitate that. And if you do the mini MBA program, there's even more that we've built into that to really make sure that that applicability is key when participants go through that. So that curriculum is then supported by a number of industry experts. So we're not the only ones at TDI Academy who deliver the content. We've brought in a number of industry experts from all over the globe, experts in their own fields, because we wanted to make sure that we have a real sort of diverse opinion set from people, that yes, they're specialists in their areas, but we wanted to make sure that that diversity is there. So people from Google, Swiss Re, KPMG, smaller consulting firms who know their stuff are the industry experts who help us deliver that content. And again, from the feedback that we've received, we found that is a really good mix of people, and it works really well for people to have those diverse opinions and views from different people. I don't know if we managed to set up this poll, actually. I did ask, but I'm not sure. Maybe it wasn't set up. So I will maybe skip over this. We can come back to that. But that's probably about it, really, from me. I just wanted to sort of leave with this quote from Albert Einstein, one of my sort of favourite quotes, and really sort of sums up, I think, quite nicely what we've been speaking about, right? So I mentioned this earlier, but learning is an experience. Everything else is just information. And I think one of the challenges in L&D in a digital world, right, that I mentioned is how do you create the best learning experience so that the user can then go away and really implement that learning, right? So it's not just information based, it is an experience. And I think what we've done at TDI Academy has focused on that, creating that experience, and hopefully our programs are really able to demonstrate that to people. Right, so I think that's it from me. I left my contact details there. If anybody wants to get in touch or wants to know any more information about what we do at TDI Academy or any of our programs, feel free to drop me an email. But that's it from me for now. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you, Malini.
That's okay. Any questions? I don't know if we've got time for questions.
Yes, we have a couple of minutes more.
Okay.
2 minutes, exactly.
I did pretty well. Good.
Helena, Diane? Maybe no.
Oh, I didn't turn on my mic. So, Are those courses on demand? You can start whenever you can. Maybe I missed it, or because you also have live interaction, right? Live lectures, not only pre-taped. So they start on some regular intervals, not on demand.
So one of them does. So the mini MBA program, the ADI, which it stands for Associate Digital Insurer. That one is cohort based. So we have 3 cohorts a year that we run. It runs over 7 months. And has a start date and an end date, but it's still all on demand, right? So all that content, the 56 hours of content, the 56 lessons in digital insurance, it's all pre-recorded. The live component comes in for ADI, where we have weekly discussion groups. So all the people going through ADI can come together on a weekly basis, and we go through some of the topics that we've covered or lessons we've covered. And that's how that works. CDI, which is the certification, doesn't have that live component, and it's 100% on demand. So you can start that one at any time, and you have access to that over 12 months. So you can sort of do that slightly more at your own pace.
Okay, very interesting. I think it's a very complete curriculum. I'm always happy to see. Well, I have my own feelings about business schools. Your of course business model is a bit different. People are coming to you because they want to invest and to learn. Yeah, that's why you can push them to study Python and so many other things. So it's an amazing program, amazing products, and
thank you. Yeah, no, it's been great, right? And the feedback that we've received has been fantastic. Our NPS scores, which is what we use to measure our feedback, has been brilliant. And we've only been going 18 months, but really, really happy to sort of see the feedback and the impact that we're having, right? It's why we started the programs in the first place. And one of the other things we try and do as well, as you know, digital insurance, or is such a fast moving space as well. So we do try and make sure that we can keep all of our content up to date as well. So we have quite a rigorous upgrade process with our lessons, where we make sure that we keep all the content up to date on a regular basis as well. But yeah, you're right. People do, they come to us because they want to invest in their learning. And I think what we found is that there are a lot of other companies, models, right, who focus on digital, the bigger players that everyone knows in the market, the Coursera's, LinkedIn Learnings, right? They have very accessible content and learning in that space, but no one really focuses on that particular space of digital insurance, right? So the impact that technology is the impact that technology is having on insurance is quite an untapped market, and that's what our curriculum really, really does.
Yes, and I noticed it because I used Coursera to set up my curriculum, and there was basically no course so far for INSURTECH.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. So an opportunity definitely that exists there.
Well, thank you. That was a very nice presentation. Amazing. Thank you. And
no
for all the efforts you are doing, because of course it's a paid program, but you are really contributing to the greater good.
Oh,
and that's the purpose of education.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And do you have partnerships with global universities?
Oh, good question. So we do get asked this, and no, not at the moment. So we're not officially sort of affiliated or recognised by any sort of professional institution, and so quite a sort of deliberate decision on our part to do that. We're quite sort of, because we are quite niche, right? Digital insurance is a very sort of niche topic if you think about it in the broader space of education, and we felt that we have quite a strong sort of brand and sort of base amongst us already, without having to sort of form those partnerships with any other sort of professional qualifications for the time being. So We do have our own credentials that we issue when someone goes through our program. So we have some digital certificates and stuff that we issue when someone completes our program. And actually we're finding that people are really sort of, using those, sharing those whenever they do it, putting it on the bottom of their LinkedIn profiles, signatures, etc. And I think, again, just having that recognition that you have gone through a training program like this is proving to be quite widely recognized already.
Okay, thank you.
No worries.
Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you all.
All
it
right,
was a
thanks.
very nice session. Thank you for joining me.
Yes, likewise.
Thank you for contributing, guys.
Bye. Have a nice day.
You too.
You too. Goodbye.
Bye.